Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. What's going on, guys? Everyone feeling all right? We good?
I'm just playing. I'm good. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
Good to be back.
Let's talk some coronavirus, baby. But I'm good, by the way.
We're good. We're glad to hear that. In episode 55, we're locked in on the coronavirus with its effects on the NCAA and the rest of the sports landscape. We also analyze some franchise tag developments in the NFL. Let's start with the NBA, which probably set this whole chain reaction in motion. Minutes before tip-off Wednesday night, the Jazz Thunder game was postponed after Rudy Gobert's coronavirus test came back positive. This triggered the NBA just minutes later to suspend the entire season. Since then, teammate Donovan Mitchell has also tested positive, but the rest of the team and the staff's tests have been negative thus far. So tell us, Drink, how should the NBA move forward from here?
Well, first, before we get to the answer to that question, I want to give a shout out to one, Mark Cuban. I think the way he did two things during this whole evolution that I was very happy to see a guy of his ilk. You got to understand that these guys, these billionaire owners, they're going to lose a lot of money. But I thought he showed himself to be more of a human being than a billionaire, rich guy. One being that he was the first one to come out and say, hey, I'm going to pay my staff. I'm going to pay the hourly employees. They don't deserve to lose their job over something that they didn't have something to do with. So he was the first one to say that. And I just want to say, hey, I thank him for that because I thought that was pretty cool. And to get to your question, I'm skipped the other one. To get to your question, I think the NBA is handling it right. They're doing the right thing right now. Keyword suspension of the season. They didn't cancel the season. I think people need to understand that. Cancel and suspended mean two different things. Suspension means we will come back at a later time. Cancel means don't worry about it. We'll see you down the road. We ain't worried about it no time soon. So the NBA suspended it. I also see that the owners have went to the commissioner, Adam Silver, and they asked that in 30 days he reevaluate the situation to see could they possibly reopen the season at a later time. That is very important because they would like to finish this season out in some form of fashion. We don't know what that form of fashion is, but this is what they wanted to do. So I think the NBA is handling it beautifully. I like the fact that the NBA was the first sports organization to say, we done, we out of here. Now, I do understand what some people are going to say. They also was the first sports organization to have a major player get, diagnosed with the coronavirus. I got that. However, you got to understand, this is the NBA we talking about. This is $1 billion entity. It took a lot for that commissioner to come out and say, cut it, we out. We done. Hey, we'll come back down the road. So, kudos to Adam Silver, kudos to the NBA. And like I said, if they want to come back in 30 days and see this, because most of the doctors are saying this, they're saying that you could come back in 30 days and have a total different diagnosis than what you have now. It is a virus. A lot of people can't come back from this. Go look at the studies in China. Go look at the studies in Korea. Go look at some studies in Italy. People have coming back. I mean, I got it that the numbers don't look as great as you might think they should look. But if you're looking at half of the story, and that's what a lot of people are doing, they're looking at half of the story, which is how many people got sick, how many people died. They're not even worried about how many people recovered. There's a lot more people that recovered from this than died from this. I can promise you that. All right. This is not the first time we had a flu epidemic. And it probably won't be the last time we have a flu epidemic. So with that said, the NBA has definitely handled this very well. And let me just say this. As much as I say kudos to Mark Cuban for what he did, for being a leader, doing how he, doing things the way he did it. Rudy Gobert, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Rudy Gobert? Seriously? Come on, man. Like, listen, I understand you from another country. I understand you're a relatively young guy, but you got to be better than this, man. You're playing around and I'm not saying listen, you're not the only person in America that probably made a joke of this situation. But now you're the joke of the situation because of that. You could have did that behind closed doors, poking and prodding at your teammates if you just wanted to make it a joke. God, I touched your locker, whatever. But you did it in public. You touched all these mics, and then karma was a because it slapped you right in the face. That's what happened. Karma came back, and then you happen to be the first NBA player diagnosed with the coronavirus. Ain't that some for your all right? So that's you can't be doing this, man. Like, come on, man. Have more class. Have more, be more mature. We understand. We don't like the fact that this is headline news as much as you don't like the fact that this is headline news. But to sit there and mock the media and rub the mics and say, ha, 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 ha. Now look what you did. You are the face of coronavirus in the NBA. I hope you happy. You are the face of that crowd. Then, hey, we got a second player. Who is that second player? Donovan Mitchell? Oh, just so happened to be your teammate. Go figure, So I just want to make sure I said something about that because that was outrageous. I don't know what he was thinking. But I would say this about the guy. I don't think he had no malintent. I don't think it was a malicious thing. I just think he was playing around. He took it as a joke, like many of us probably have. Took it as a joke, and then he just got caught up in his own joke, And this was a lesson to be learned for other people. Don't go around playing with this, man. This, what I'm saying? Take this stuff serious, because you out here spreading this crap. You don't even know what could come out of you spreading it. So, to get back to that question, I think the NBA should come back to Adam Silver in 30 days. Adam Silver make a choice if he want to continue the suspension, or if he want to go ahead and start at least playing the games without fans again. I do think that should be the next step. No, let's not go full blown. You could bring the game back without the fans, and then in 30 more days, once you get a better prognosis of what's going on, then you could bring the fans back and then do it that way. Because I don't see a reason why you got to rush back and just bring fans back. And I got money. I got it. People losing a lot of money. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm not the guy with the checkbook buying all this stuff and spending this money. But at the same time, if you really care about the public health, like you say you care about it, then you got to take steps to this. You know what I'm saying? It's a saying that we have that we like to use. You got to crawl, walk, and then run. I don't think you need to go from crawling straight into the run. You need to build yourself back up, get those games back on TV, and then once you hear, hey, it's good to have large crowds again, you bring that crowd back in, and then we go back to watching the NBA as we know it. All right, so that I think the NBA is handling it good. That's my recommendation. We'll see how that go.
Yeah, I got no big issue with how the NBA has handled this thus far. I think the suspension is the right move. I must admit to you, when I first saw the news of the suspension, I thought the NBA season was a wrap. I even went so far to make the little remark that, like, well, I guess Ja Morant wins Rookie of the Year because Zion can't catch him now. But with the suspension, I believe at some point down the line, the NBA season is going to get back underway. 30 days is probably about right. But this is something that, the league office and Adam Silver, this is something they probably will monitor on a daily basis, and just to see, just to monitor the situation throughout the country and the world. And 30 days is probably what they're shooting for. But, if I had to guess, I'm probably thinking it'll be more than 60 days. That's just a gut feeling. Before we see, the season resume. You talked about Mark Cuban. I want to shout out some other guys, Kevin Love and Giannis and Zion. I believe these some of the guys who they're making donations to some of the workers in the arenas that are being affected by this. So a lot of good can come out of these situations where people got to band together. And in order to overcome, these difficult times that we're looking at in the face. But in regards to Rudy Gobert, I think you summarized that quite well. And I said this previous to you all. There's a lot of Rudy Goberts out there that just what probably ain't taking it seriously. I mean, us ourselves, you know, when we had the show, when we talked Wednesday, we didn't see this coming. I mean, when Rudy Gobert tested positive, that really was the lightning rod and the catalyst that really set all this in motion. Because up to that point, the cancellations and the different moves that teams and organizations and cities around the country were making were fairly isolated. You know, they were few and far between. We really hadn't seen a whole lot of reaction. But I did say on the show that night, I was like, if a player gets this, that is when we will see direct movement and reaction. And boy, did it come quick, fast, and in a hurry. And to your point earlier, the NBA reacted in such a way because they were the first team, American league, that had a player test positive. If my information I have is correct, I believe there was a soccer player, not in the MLS, but I believe there was a soccer player in another part of the world that tested positive before Rudy Gobert. But of course, that was outside of the United States. But back to Rudy Gobert. In the end, I do agree with you. I don't think he's got a malicious bone in his body. Just one of those situations where we just live in a society where not very little, if anything, is off limits to a joke. I mean, that's just the meme society we live in. We got there's that small section of the country that was making jokes as soon as Kobe Bryant died. I mean, you know it and I know it. Let's just be honest with it.
That's true.
That's just kind of the way it is. But as far as how the NBA proceeds from here, and whenever we get to a point to where they can resume play, if I had to guess, I would say the regular season will most likely be shortened. I would guess that we say maybe 8 to 10 regular season games, perhaps like a preseason type format before these guys hit the playoffs. Now that's obviously going to hurt some of those Western Conference teams that are looking to catch Memphis for that 8 seed. So I don't know if that'll be taken into consideration, but if it doesn't, I mean, look, to the Portlands and the New Orleanses of the world, I guess you should have played better to start the season. So, oh well. But I'm looking forward to the NBA getting back. I'm glad they're taking this approach to it, and I think as of right now they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, this was crazy. I haven't had my nose too far in the news this week, and I was like, oh my gosh, like out of nowhere, that one night I was just scrolling through my phone before I went to bed. Like, this is just so unprecedented, But I think what's interesting about this whole thing is how we use sports as like a barometer for the situation, like how fast it's gauged. Because up until the NBA did this, it didn't feel like Drink said, it was just local things, or like you said, it was just local things here and there, little deals. And then all of a sudden the NBA drops the hammer, and then the chain reaction, just boom, boom, boom. Everyone did it, left, right. I mean, and then now the schools are shutting down, and it was, it really feels like when the NBA made that call and we saw this multi-billion-dollar organization do it, then everyone else just followed suit, like just right down the line. And that is just crazy to think that sports can have that kind of impact. And again, like you said, it's a prudent decision, but it's not. People are asking, is it really that serious? Like, well, yes and no, it is, because if you don't take these steps, then this could continue to spread and become a very serious situation. Right now, as of the CDC's websites, I'm gonna look over here and read it. 1,600 cases, 41 deaths. 1,600 cases and 330 million people is not a lot. But if you keep having these huge events and gatherings, and then, let's say Rudy Gobert and the Jazz ran out there and they played was it Rockets or whoever they're supposed to play?
Thunder. It was the Thunder.
Okay, so they go to Oklahoma City, and they go back to Oklahoma City. They play a team who then goes here, and then the Thunder go here. In 4 or 5 days, almost every team has played the other team in some way or function, and then this spreads like crazy. So it's a very prudent thing to cancel it. And at the time, like you'll say, it wasn't like it was a big deal and he was just, making fun of it. At the time, it was kind of still a joke to a lot of people. I mean, I've been joking about it with people I've been talking to. It's like, oh, someone calls and you make fun about it, But it within the span of like 36 hours, now it's like, oh, pandemic, go buy toilet paper. Just how fast things change, and in the age we live in. But I guess the only question I really have is, would the NBA do that? Would they literally just cancel the rest of the regular season? Let's say it's 2 months. Let's say that would put us 2 months from today, would put us right about when the finals should start, within a week or so of the finals, when they should be starting. So you back that up for the whole playoffs. I mean, you'd be well into the playoffs at this point in 60 days. Would the NBA just say, hey, we got our 16 playoff teams. Sorry if you didn't make it, because, you look out east, there's no one's really gunning for that 8 seed in the east, besides maybe the Wizards with, about 15 games to go. But you look at that, you have Portland, New Orleans, and Sacramento all 3.5 back of Memphis, and then San Antonio is another half game behind them. So there's 4 teams that could get that 8 seed. So yeah, you're right, that would screw them. But I think at this point, to keep things sort of on schedule, you'd have to just say, hey, whoever's in, we're going to do the playoffs as normal, maybe. But it's going to be a real touch and go situation. If things calm down, I can see them getting back to it. But if it's still wild and cases are still spreading, would it be weird to just not have a finals? I mean, I wonder how long they let it go on. How far you go into the offseason with it.
Yeah. That's why I think their approach, taking this at this point 30 days, is the right approach, because like you talking way down the line, and that's obviously something I'm sure they're discussing. But you obviously, I don't think you want to jump too much ahead of yourselves to that regard on that side of the equation. I think that's kind of the worst case scenario trainer mindset. Back to the point of just shutting the regular season down and heading straight to the playoffs. I can't see the NBA doing it. I can't see to the premise we're operating off of right now, having a 2-month break in the schedule, and then all of a sudden just coming right back into playoff mode. Yeah. I really can't see that. I would have to imagine there would be some X amount of games where everybody comes back into play, and that way, the teams that are going to be in playoffs, they're not just coming, and hitting the ground 0 to 60 in 2 minutes in playoff basketball. I don't think that's something that would be a particularly great product.
And yes, the product. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna hit to the product. You gotta understand, man. These guys, you talking about coming off the couch or coming, doing light practices or whatever it is that they're doing, and now you're saying you're playing meaningful basketball. I mean, this ain't a regular Tuesday in Milwaukee no more. Now you're talking about game 1 of the first round. So these are meaningful games. That's one thing. 2, it's recently been brought up that the NBA owners are trying not to pay the players for the games they're not playing. So now I know the players are gonna riot. So the Players Association and the NBA right now probably at odds right now over that. You're gonna have to get that cleared up and situated as well within the 30 days or within the days that you want to bring the NBA back, because you cannot say, it's not these guys' fault that a virus came and they're not playing. But then the owners are saying it's not our fault that we're not making no money because of the virus.
Yeah, and you know what would happen in that case if the owners try to pull that? There would be a meeting called with all owners in one location, and the commissioner was supposed to be there, and they'd send Rudy Gobert instead.
Ooh, that's gonna kill him.
Hey, we ain't playing with this money. But look, I think one of the things to consider, and you're talking about how you go back into play. I think taking it in the steps of resuming play without fans, if the situation, around the country has not improved to what you would like, and you want to resume play anyway, because I think you're gonna have to see everyone's gonna have to get tested. Everyone's gonna have to get tested, and including, all the essential personnel that work with these teams to ensure that everyone's good, and they're not taking any unnecessary risks to where other players are getting infected and spread this around. Because once you step on the floor, the basketball. Somebody was making the point that, man, the basketball is a dirty thing. All the sweat, all the different hands on that thing. That's a nasty germ-filled thing. Right.
We'll see. They got some time to look it off and look over it and watch what happens. All we can do.